All right, now I'm going to talk to you about the OXY acetylene torch. I'm going to show you how to set it up and operate it. The bottles are always on these carts. They're upright and they're chained. They should always be secured. When they're in use, they do not have to have the valve protection cap on. When they're not in use, you have to have the valve protection cap on. They're always stored upright and chained, secured. This is the oxygen cylinder. This is the acetylene cylinder. Oxygen is usually green, not necessarily the color of the tank, but the fuel gas hoses or the oxy fuel hoses. The oxygen one is green and the acetylene one is red. So remember, oxygen as green and fuel gas as red. Oxygen uses right-handed threads. Acetylene has left-handed threads. Full tank of oxygen is about 2,000 psi or pounds per square inch. A full tank of acetylene is about 250. This is one of the most dangerous pieces of equipment that we have in the shop because it could really hurt somebody bad, either by burning, dropping it off, breaking a valve off, by explosion. There's lots of things that could go wrong here, so anytime you're handling them or moving them, you really have to be careful. So I'm going to show you how to set it up, light it, make a quick cut, and shut it back down. So always stand to the side of the regulator. The oxygen valve is turned all the way on. The oxygen valve, because it's a high pressure cylinder, it has a back seating valve, so it seats and shuts off when it's off, and when it's all the way on, it also seats again. Acetylene, about 250 psi. You only open it about 1.5 to 2 turns. That's so you can quickly shut it off. I'll get the torch. Okay, this here is actually the heating attachment. This here is the rosebud. We don't need it. We're going to take it off. This here is if you was wanting to heat it. This is a combination torch. Here's a welding attachment if you wanted to weld or braze with it. Here is the cutting attachment. This here connection we're doing here is just hand tight, but it has to be tight. There's a O-ring in there, and if you tighten it with the wrench, a lot of times you tear that O-ring up. It has to be tight. This valve now, with the combination torch, this valve is opened all the way. And now you're using this for the acetylene, this for the oxygen. This is a tip, so we're going to set our working pressures at, and I usually crack this acetylene valve. I would put it at 5. Shut it back off. And 35. Shut it off. See if I can find a striker. If I got one. Look around, boys.
Got one attached to the tank.
Yeah. Well, here we go again. Keep looking. So while we're talking about striker, keep looking, boys. Look in the tool room. The only approved method, that tool room right over there. Open them doors and look in the toolboxes, tool rooms. We got them around here. The only approved method to light the torch is with the spark lighter or striker. Face shield. We're going to use a number 5 face shield when we get ready to weld or cut. One of the reasons why that you use a number 5 is that there's no ultraviolet light present. Hey, look at here. You throw it, I catch it. All right. Now we're ready to go. Sorry about that. So when you're oxy fuel cutting, there's only two types of light. Infrared and visible. Infrared is the light that's felt as heat and usually the most avoidable light. Visible light is the bright light that you see. Okay, it usually causes temporary night blindness. If we was arc welding, we'd have to have at least the number 10 lens, usually, because of the presence of ultraviolet light. So here I'll show you how to light the torch. We've turned the bottles on, we've adjusted the working pressure. We're going to crack this settling valve, maybe. Turn it up till the soot's gone. Now I'm setting the preheat flame. One thing about the way I set it is if you set it the same every time, you can get your preheat flame the same. The soot's gone. I didn't sit here and let it soot up. Watch what happens. See all that black stuff? You don't want that floating around the shop. So you turn it up quickly till the soot's gone. You introduce the oxygen. Put your helmet down. You'll see the intercom. Depress the oxygen settings. Right when they're nice and clear, I'll make a cut. Make sure you're not cutting on top of your hose. Kicker kind of under the table, stay out of the way. So all your cutting is going to be done with the neutral flame. When you have too much acetylene, that's a carburizing and reducing flame. See the long tail on the intercom? When you have an oxidizing flame, begin to hear it a lot more and it turns to baby blue. Neither one of them are very good for cutting. I take it where it's just a little bit reducing, and I push the oxygen lever. Now I bring those fingers right to where it's just pointing. Just pointing. Now when you shut it off, the way I do it, I shut the oxygen off, because if I shut the fuel gas off, a lot of times you guys won't shut the oxygen off because you can't see it. Shut the oxygen, now you can see that, right? Shut it off. Come over here, shut your bottles off. Everybody following along? Good. Bleed the hose. You have to bleed the hose before you back the regulator out. Just letting the oxygen go. You'll see both the working pressure and the tank pressure. Back it off 1 or 2. Same thing here. Back it off 1 or 2. Roll your cord up nice and neat. Put your torch inside the holder that we made, along with the striker. Keep it with the torch. Put the torch back out. Thank you.